Hey, my name is Vashilos. Thanks for tuning in today, and let me go ahead and give you some context as to how my league start has been going. First, I league started out as melee. It was a bit of a meme. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. It was absolute suffering. We couldn't do it anymore, and we re-rolled over towards Trickster. We were having fun with Firestorm plus trap support. So Firestorm traps. Eventually, we realized that that's just incredibly inferior because of two reasons. Reason number one is that it absorbs a support socket as well as providing a less damage multiplier. That's just literally the first reason. It's absolutely terrible. You can look at something similar, such as Call to Arms being turned into a support gem. I'll stop. I'll stop. I know. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's reason number one. Number two is that traps last 4 seconds is one of the taglines. Let's go over to Lily real quick and we'll read that. There it is. Traps last 4 seconds, and then we're going to go over to the trap that we're using now. Cast time 1 second. What that means is that Ice Trap will detonate in 1 second, whereas anything supported by trap support will detonate in 4 seconds. It's a astronomical difference. So that was the two primary reasons as why we decided to no longer use Firestorm traps and moved over towards Ice Trap of Hollowness. At first, we weren't a lowlife, and I would like to talk to you about some of the items that helped me become a lowlife. First and foremost, Prism Guardian. You absolutely cannot be a lowlife without this shield, in my opinion, unless you're doing some like Squire and then um, Arrogance, I think is the support gem shenanigans. That's probably also another acceptable form of lowlife. But Prism Guardian is like tried and true, right? This is like bread and butter lowlife shield. You're going to also want a pair of Skyforth as soon as you swap over to being a lowlife so that you can have three 50% Aura gems in your Prism Guardian. I chose Zealotry, Purity of Elements, and Hatred as that was what I had. I didn't have many chromes at the time. You could probably put whatever you wanted in there to min-max a little bit more. But Skyforth is important for that reservation efficiency of skills, for life reservation efficiency. You're probably not going to have access to a fractured um, Delve ring. As you can see, it says increase life reservation efficiency of skills, and that's what you would want to move away from Skyforth. As you don't want to use these boots at the end, but they do absolutely help you get there. Chevron's wrappings are also super important for when you become a low life and reserving all of your life. You're going to need a way to prevent chaos damage from one tapping you. Chevrons cost me like 7 chaos orbs and solve that very neatly. Another thing is that you're going to realize that mana is an incredibly important resource for you all of a sudden, attempting to do all of these things. So, Heat Shiver, while providing resistances and a rather respectable heap of fire damage, the mana regeneration rate is actually easily accessible here, and you're going to help Alira as well, so that you have a base 5 mana per second. She also gives you resistances and critical strike multiplier. Heat Shiver, you could argue that this is an endgame helmet. It depends on how much you think there is an argument to be made for how important the fire damage it is providing us is. Um, my perspective is that I value that fire damage very little because I don't have a lot of fire damage penetration. I have a lot of cold damage penetration, so I want to, just prioritize that. And I can get mana regeneration rate from somewhere else eventually, but this helmet absolutely helps you steamroll everything on your way through the campaign and further. So don't sleep on this if you're not able to purchase something better. I'm trying out a Will Clash right now. Ideally, I would have +1 to power charge on this, but it's really easy to generate my power charges via this, keep my critical strike multiplier up, and is a lot cheaper than something, say, like Ralakesh's Impatience, which would essentially be doing the same job but providing me less stats. Will Clash gives me increased elemental damage and chance to block spell damage. That's super nice. It has no downsides in my opinion. Sure, we lose power charges when we block, but we don't have a ton of block chance anyways. It's about 25% even in both ways, attack and spells being blocked. When it happens, it's like a happy accident. Like, okay, I didn't take damage. I'm going to have my power charges back in like less than 10 seconds because we can also generate them through charged trap support, which is why we care so much about power charges in the first place, as well as them giving a lot of critical strike chance. We put our Ice Trap of Hollowness into a Bitter Dream, so it's a technical 9-link skill gem right now. Makes it very expensive. Again, emphasizing how important your mana regeneration rate is. Getting your Presence of Chayula is also incredibly important. This will allow you to finally anoint comfortably with Sovereignty, as when you move away from your Skyforce that I was talking about earlier, you not only lose that life reservation efficiency, but you lose that mana reservation efficiency. So you have to solve that by the Anoint of Sovereignty. We path towards Charisma already, and desperately need that reservation efficiency. Unless we can get it somewhere else. You could not use Will Clash and get it on your helmet. You could not use Ghost Writhe. Again, we don't plan on using Ghost Writhe at the very end, but until we can get like a nice Sadist garb, or maybe like a Shroud of the Lightless, we will be using this, as it provides us an astronomical amount of energy shield and chaos resistance. Gloves, it's probably just going to be a pair of rare gloves. Trap throwing speed, spell suppression as much as you can get, as much energy shield as you can get with those other stats still being possible, most likely a dual type base. Boots, I have no idea what I want to do with. It could be some Atsiri's Step. Ralakesh's Impatience is a possibility, but I don't really want to do that since I'm already doing Will Clash. This is kind of like up in the air right now. I have to do a lot of thinking about what exactly I want for the boot slot. But for rings, it's pretty much locked in. You need a ring with 10% life reservation efficiency of skills. You want to get some strength on that. Mana regeneration rate is super important since you're going to be losing that from the helmet slot. Everything from there, it's kind of going to be pretty difficult. You would want chaos resistance. That's going to be nice since you'll eventually lose some from Ghost Writhe. The life and regenerate mana per second prefix is actually super important. And you'll also care about minus to non-channeling skills Syndicate Craft. That's a pretty complicated ring at that point. I don't know how I'm going to achieve that, especially with some of the Veiled Chaos Orb crafting changes. It's going to be a lot more expensive. I'll see what I can do. But Anathema. This is a super important ring. I also don't know how to pronounce it. Anathema? Anathema? Someone help. It saves us about 4 passive points. This build is incredibly starved of passive points because we're nearby so many things that we really wish we could pick up. I mean, we wish we could pick up Master Sapper. We wish we could pick up Throat Seeker. We wish we could pick up Frantic. We wish we could pick up so many different things that we're just slightly out of range for. And I'll leave it up to you as to what exactly you prefer. It could be that you prefer some medium cluster jewels. It could be that you do prefer Throat Seeker. It could be that you prefer Unnatural Calm because it provides a lot of energy shield and then maximum to lightning resistance. Maybe you don't value Cold Mastery for permanently take 5% increased damage for each second they've been frozen, and you would instead prefer 1% maximum cold resistance. It's up to you. So just know there are a lot of good things nearby the way I've set the passive tree up. And for the belt, it's locked in. You want to use a Sunblast. Just literally no negotiating that. We're a trap build. And I think that does it for now. Oh, no, I'm missing something, and that is that you need Brutal Restraint, and it has to be of Balbala. That way that it provides the trader when converting a nearby keystone. If you are lucky like me, or if you have a couple of Divine Orbs like I did, you'll be able to buy a nice one that provides 10% increased flash charges times 2. I actually got times 3, so it's on Essence Surge, Instability, and Deep Thoughts. But you could also get it on Heart of Ice. So you have a couple of options on how to get these increased flash charges gained. Why am I talking about this? Well, we no longer need a chest piece that makes it so chaos damage goes through our energy shield because we're using Coruscating Elixir. Coruscating Elixir takes care of that job for us. If you see there, chaos damage taken does not bypass energy shield during effect. And what's so good about this is that the flask itself lasts about 10 seconds baseline. I think I'm correct on that. I've already qualitied it. That's why I'm kind of doubting myself. But 25% increased flash charges gained is the magic number you want to hit so that you have permanent uptime for 3 flasks. 3 flasks, I think, is really what you want to do. If you don't want to do this, you can just take out the point and you can just buy whatever ball you want, and you can just take these 2 flasks off. You're going to sustain coruscating elixir no matter what, because you just have so many flash charges that are being given to you. But if you want to have triple coverage on your elemental maximum resistances, then I would recommend 25% increased flash charges gained. You can get 10% here for a single passive point, and then you can get 20% via one of these from a Brutal Restraint Timeless Jewel denoted to Balbala. Important things to remember for low life are that you really should have Wicked Ward ready to go as soon as you're putting in Pain Attunement and reserving the auras. And if I really had to say the point you know that you can swap over is that you have a Chevron's, you have some Skyforth, and you have a Prism Guardian. Everything from there, excuse me, it's really up to you. You can make it work. Now, let me talk about some of the pain points. Until you have a lot of energy shield, you're going to feel the pain. You're going to be getting one shot. Until you have figured out exactly how much mana you need to still be able to spew traps, it's going to feel a little awkward. There were definitely large portions of time where... Sorry, I got hiccups. There were large portions of time where it's like I'm running through my maps and I only have enough mana to use Ice Trap of Hollowness once. Hiccups, go away. I'm sorry. And, you know, it's like, this is still a work in progress is what I want you to know. I just want to fill you in as to how my League Start has been going. And I think I've covered everything. Let me go over some of the auras that I'm using. We're using 7 auras, and then we're also using automation. We're using Hatred, Discipline, Summon Skitterbots, Zealotry, Purity of Elements, Clarity, and Grace. Ideally, you would have Vol Clarity and Vol Discipline. Vol Discipline can kind of get you out of trouble if, say, you've got a lot of poison on you or you have a really big bleed on you. Any dot, really, but we're immune to all the elemental ailments, so poison and bleed are kind of pretty big things for you to pay attention to. I have an idea what I can do with some of my rings to solve one of those, but that's going to be rather expensive, especially at this point. And for automation, I've linked it to Steel Skin so that I solve bleeding. It's not perfect. There's probably still a bleed out there that can kill me, as this has a cooldown, about 3.1 seconds. But I thought it was a neat way to solve my concern towards dying to a massive bleed. The Pantheon that we're using right now, I don't remember setting it to Soul of Rithlotha. I'm pretty sure I had it set to Aberath. But you could bounce between Soul of Ralakash and Soul of Aberath. I've chosen Soul of Aberath because I really just don't like burning ground and not being able to regenerate my energy shield because I'm still standing on something I can't quite see due to a dimly lit room, or maybe there's like another particle effect standing above it in terms of like priority. Like what if there's like a Shaper degen on the ground, but there's also, I don't know. That example probably didn't make all that much sense. But if I had to say, just choose between these two. Those are the best Pantheon options for what we're interested in doing. Once you have your Presence of Chayula, you no longer need Soul of the Brine King. And you could even argue that you don't need it anymore when you have the Eye of Chayula and Purity of Elements. You could swap over to any of the others that you prefer. I'm using Soul of Lunaris right now because I eventually want a chance to avoid projectiles and avoid projectiles that have chained. I'm kind of dragging my feet now. I think I've covered just about everything that I've changed, everything that I'm thinking about. And I hope you guys will tune in to stream sometime. I'm still having some internet troubles. I hope you'll join the Discord. I'll leave the Discord temporary link down below in the description, as well as a link to stream. Talk to me about what your league start has been like for week 1. Did you get super lucky? Any insane drops? Are you already done with the game? Did you beat it on day 1? Let me know. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.